Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. EDDBUD here with the first in a new series, half marathon training guide in mind of the Gloucester Half Marathon in January. So Gloucester Half Marathon's my goal. It's a flat course by all accounts, so it's time to knuckle down once again with an event in mind. If you haven't done already, please think about hitting that subscribe button down here in the bottom corner and make sure you click the bell for notifications of when new videos are launched. I talk running shoes here, that's my love in life, running shoes. Lots and lots of reviews, lots of comparisons, and I update you from time to time on my training too. Anyway, let's get to the training update right now. So my personal record for the half marathon distance is 1 hour 34:27. So I really want to try and move that a little closer to 1 hour 30 if I can. As you know, in my previous half marathon training updates, I was aiming to try and get under 1 hour 30 at the Salisbury Half Marathon a little earlier this year. Didn't quite manage it. It wasn't my day. It just didn't quite come off for me. But this time round, certainly there's some really positive and very encouraging signs already. This training block is going to comprise of about 10 weeks this time round. Around about the same time as I had before, I think. I think the last one was about 9 or 10 weeks. That aside, weeks 7 and 8 are going to be particularly tough because it's going to be Christmas then. And I really love Christmas. It's one of my favourite times of year. It can be a little tough, you know, when you're trying to nip out here and there to get your training in, when everybody else is eating the Ferrero Rochers and they're having some mulled wine and everyone's relaxing, they're playing video games, they're playing pool, they're playing billiards. It can be a little bit tough, you know, and you've got to try and make excuses and escape. Christmas time is always a very tempting period when you want to enjoy those rare treats or those delicacies. But I'm going to be steadfast, viewers. I'm not going to let those delicious, sweet, sugary, gorgeous and tasty offerings affect my performance. Maybe I'll have a few of those things, you know. I don't want to live a boring life, do I? So week 1, getting back into shape. I took a day of rest on Monday. That's a great start, isn't it? Getting back into shape, and it takes a day of rest on the first day. It should have been 3 miles at that kind of easier pace for me, around about 8 minutes per mile. So I doubled it up on the Tuesday, got those 3 miles in, and then had a fun speed session later on that day. Temperature had reached a fantastic 7 degrees centigrade by then, which is spot on for me running wise, really. I don't really like running in the hotter temperatures. I much prefer that kind of 6-7 centigrade. It's perfect for me. Let me set the scene for you. Blustery wind, wet trails and pavement. Nike Zoomfly 3 surrounding my feet. What do you say? Yes, viewers, I gave these running shoes an opportunity to redeem themselves, and they came through. First speed work session for a long time. It was 3 repeats of 1.5 miles at my 10k pace. So for me, that's about 6 minutes 40 per mile, or around about 4 minutes 10 per kilometre. 8 miles in total for that session, with warm up and warm down at more recovery-like paces, with quarter mile or 400 metre jogs in between the intervals. So on those intervals, I managed 6:47, 6:48, and then I think it was 6:31 per mile. The Zoomfly 3s performed admirably. I got them out of the box. I was feeling a little sorry for them, you know, they'd been sat there for a long time, unused, like an unused cog waiting to whir into action. They did really well in terms of traction, actually. There were lots of branches, lots of leaves that had been pulled down from the trees on the ground, and absolutely no problem in these. Despite the quite wet and far from perfect conditions, really good traction in the Zoomfly 3. They enabled me to increase the cadence a little bit and then hold that pace around about the right speed. The route I utilised for it wasn't really ideal. There's quite a lot of road crossings needed, but I managed to minimise the disruptions this time round. Session clocked in just under the hour with an average pace of about 7 minutes 25 seconds per mile. Average cadence of about 168, which is good for me really. I've got very long legs. I have experimented trying to increase my cadence, increase my kind of movement and turnover, but around about that speed kind of felt, or at least feels, quite comfortable for me, and I managed to achieve some good paces on this session. I managed to lift that up to about 176 steps per minute on the final interval. Sometimes towards the end of such speed sessions I can find things pretty tough, but seemed to get a little faster as we went through the activity, and certainly finished nice and strong on that last interval. Form was feeling good and certainly stability was still there, so really impressed with my form, and there's certainly some improvements there. I still have my reservations though about the Zoomfly 3 perhaps as an interval shoe. It still feels a little clunky to me, certainly when I drop back to those more moderate endurance paces. But as I lifted up the pace, oh boy does it move. My 40-year-old pin sputtered into action like a 1980s Ford Capri. Something like that anyway. It was certainly a very exhilarating experience and very enjoyable. As I've been doing lots of lower paced, longer runs recently, it was really nice to actually go very fast over some slightly shorter distances. So the next day out I was aiming for around a 7-mile effort at around about tempo pace for me, about 7 minutes 30 per mile. Certainly that slightly easier effort was really welcome actually after the speed work the previous day. I used the Pegasus 36 shields for this effort. I looked outside, it was absolutely chucking it down, loads and loads of rain, wind. It was really tough to actually get myself to go out there. Motivation wasn't there, especially considering I had the new Hideo Kojima Death Stranding game to play when I got back. Though I forced myself to get out there and forced myself to get that session done. Wind was a real hindrance actually at one stage of the run. I kind of had to pull the pace back a little bit. I was just running straight into a headwind and it wasn't pleasant at all. I ended up getting absolutely saturated despite the actual use of the Pegasus 36 shields. I could have been wearing an all over kind of waterproof suit and I probably still would have got wet. It was that kind of day. Certainly a tough workout, but got those miles in and stuck to the plan. Next day it was 7 miles again, this time 3 miles within the 7 at threshold pace. I pulled out these old friends, my Nike Vaporfly 4% Flyknits. These have seen a lot of action, probably a little more actually than the Millennium Falcon. Up to 166 miles in these now, and they still felt great today. So clocking on those 7 miles at 50 minutes with an average pace of 7 minutes 9 seconds per mile. It was a warm-up of 2 miles at 7 minutes 16, which is way faster than it should have been really. Should have pulled things back a bit. Threshold pace section was about 6 minutes 55 per mile, and then 2 miles to round it off at 7 minutes 23 per mile. Main reason for the pace really was that I had some activities and responsibilities I had to get back to, so I was under quite a severe, strict time limit. Certainly been a while since I'd taken these out. It was actually really exhilarating to use them again. Actually, the last time I used the Vaporfly 4% was probably for the Half Marathon actually, where I set my PR, and putting these back on, I just felt like an old friend, you know, they just felt so comfortable. The Flyknit just seems to have moulded itself a little bit to my foot. I think certainly my experiences of the Vaporfly 4%, they're pretty much all good really. Next percent, I'm still coming to terms with that one. Perhaps the drop of this shoe just suits my running style a little bit more, but I just felt fantastic today. I really did feel like I was flying. Legs felt really good, and certainly reaching those higher paces didn't really feel alien or punishing in any way. I think the previous half marathon training has really had some positive and lasting effects. Fitness feels really good this time around, certainly hitting some of those paces now, which I felt more difficult perhaps in my previous training block. I just certainly feel a little easier to achieve now. So all very positive efforts thus far in the first week of my new training block. Rest day tomorrow. I've got around about a 45-mile goal for this week. So Saturday I'll see me doing another session around about 7 miles of some fartlek, and then on Sunday 10-mile longer run at around about 7 minutes 45. I'll give you an update on those other 2 training activities a little later this week. If you're training for an event, be it a 5k, a 10k, half marathon, even longer than that, please let me know down in the comments. Tell me what sort of sessions you've been working on, which ones do you find easy, which ones do you find tough, what kind of gets you out there when the weather's really bad. I was chatting with some of the viewers recently about weather, and really the weather in the UK is mild compared to what some of you are putting up with, and you still get out there. So Let me know about how you motivate yourself to get out there and complete those training sessions. Hope you've enjoyed today's video. Please remember to hit that subscribe button and click the bell for notifications. Give the video a thumbs up and share it with your running friends. My name's EDDBUD and I'll be seeing you.